If I could describe Coldwater Creek in one word, I would choose the word treacherous.
Dirty.
Harmful.
Coldwater Creek water has no contamination in it at all. They test it regularly, and there's none.
I would describe Coldwater Creek as concerning. We got home. How was recess today?
Jason Bell has called Florissant, Missouri home for most of his life.
How you gonna bring out the air quotes?
He's sent both of his kids to the same school that he attended as a boy, Jana Elementary.
My daughter just flourished there. She just felt like that was her home, a home away from home.
But in the summer of 2022, the school district sent a letter to parents saying that low levels of radioactive contamination were found on the banks of a creek on the edge of the school's property.
Within that letter, it kind of illustrated what the potential plans were, but nothing to be alarmed of.
The contamination's the remnants of waste that decades ago spilled into Coldwater Creek, a tributary of the Missouri River that snakes across North St. Louis and runs right behind the school. But then confusion, another report released, dominating the local news.
We begin tonight with community fear and worry.
Independent study found high levels of radioactive waste at the school.
It claimed there was contamination not just on the creek banks, but inside of the building, with radioactive lead dust found in the gym and in the boiler room. The school shuttered, and students like Jason's daughter were redistricted.
We don't know what to trust because the information is not transparent.
The Army Corps of Engineers insists the school is safe. But in March 2023, the school board announced
there is no expectation that Jana Elementary will reopen. And as we look to the future, we are committed to supporting all of our students and staff and fully embracing their new school communities.
There's a reason why we had to shut down the school. What is that reason?
The closing of Jana Elementary resurrecting a decades-long crisis. People here have been living with nuclear waste for generations. Some battling cancer they say was caused by the contamination.
She's not going to be able to see her boys grow up.
Others living in fear they could be next. All while a fierce debate rages over the storage and cleanup of waste.
What level of radiation seems safe?
Across the country, catastrophes continue to happen, spewing waste.
Train derailment that spewed toxic chemicals into the air and water. The question now, where to take the toxic waste?
The train derailment in East Palestine, opening people's eyes to our vulnerabilities. But it's communities like this one who've already been living long-term with the consequences.
When we look at what happened in East Palestine and the worry that the residents there have, it brings me back to this issue in North St. Louis.
The roots of this go back to World War II during the Manhattan Project.
From hidden factories over the nation, under heavy Army protection, the first atomic bomb was assembled.
The top secret government initiative to research and develop the world's first nuclear weapons, including the atomic bomb.
So if we think about how to understand nuclear production, it is almost like an organism, a vast network that stretches throughout the continental United States.
And Mallinckrodt Chemical in downtown St. Louis was the heart of that network.
By July of 1942, they were producing 1 ton of purified uranium a day.
After the bomb was dropped, that secret became a source of St. Louis pride. But the city's patriotism was laced with consequences. Nuclear waste that needed to be stored.
Coldwater Creek runs along the edge of the lot that was chosen to be the storage area. As runoff and wind would blow the materials, large amounts ended up in the creek itself.
It wasn't until 1989 that the EPA formally labeled parts of North St. Louis County a Superfund site. Then in 1997, the Army Corps of Engineers took the lead on the cleanup as part of the formerly utilized site's Remedial Action Program, or FUSRAP.
We are charged with making sure that if there is contamination associated with those early activities, that we find it and remediate it in accordance with our authority and records of decision.
Philip Moser and Robin Parks both work on the team leading the Corps' cleanup effort. That process is called remediation. Soil samples are tested in an on-site lab. Any contaminated soil is identified, dug up, and shipped to a facility in Idaho by rail cars. The Army Corps of Engineers has until 2038 to finish the cleanup. How much has been cleaned up so far?
It's over 1 million cubic yards. That's over, I want to say, around 12,000 rail cars.
But the presence of radioactive material doesn't automatically mean a property will get cleaned up.
We have our remedial goals. Those are thresholds based on risk levels that are determined by federal agencies like EPA to be protective. Below that, we don't clean it up.
So that basically means there is contaminants there.
Correct.
It just doesn't meet the threshold of being cleaned up
Right.
by this program. What level of radiation seems safe?
So the health hazard really has to do with risk and risk of cancer. Radiation's everywhere. It's in our bodies, it's part of the earth, it's everywhere naturally. Radiation at levels that are not acceptable, we find it and we remove it.
A 2019 report from the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry, or ATSDR, found that children and adults who regularly played in or around Coldwater Creek or lived in its floodplain for many years between the 1960s and 1990s could have increased the risk of developing lung cancer, bone cancer, or leukemia.
The Coldwater Creek sampling that we've done, we've taken over 34,000 samples. 4% of those have come back above our ROD remediation goals. So the amount of contamination out there is relatively small.
4% might seem small, but for the families that live here, some say the concern keeps them up at night.
Coldwater Creek is unfortunately a blight and a plague on our society, and certainly a huge monster to have on your kid's playground.
Ashley Bernaw has been the PTA president at Jana Elementary since 2018. She says that for years she's been trying to get answers from the Corps and the Hazelwood School District about whether the creek poses any risk to students.
It's not just a fight that we're fighting with the Army Corps of Engineers, it's justice overall for our kids and the entire community here.
So in April 2022, with the help of Kristen Camuso and the Missouri Coalition for the Environment, Bernaw filed a Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA request.
I wasn't necessarily surprised by the results of the FOIA, but motivated to get this out to the public and hold the Army Corps and the school district accountable.
The FOIA revealed that the school district had known about potential contamination for at least 5 months without making parents aware. In a letter sent in January of 2022, the Corps stated there was low-level radioactive contamination on this property located in the banks of Coldwater Creek, but that it did not pose an immediate risk in its current configuration below ground surface.
To find out that potentially they were being poisoned or harmed, that's terrifying.
We reached out to the Hazelwood School District and were told they had no further information to share.
I would like the Army Corps to be a little more upfront with the public. As far as cleaning it up, they are doing a great job. It's the communication. We just want you out here talking to us, understanding that people are scared.
Then last fall, 2 additional reports independent of the Corps came out. One by Boston Chemical, a group working for lawyers building a class action lawsuit. That study claimed to show elevated levels of radioactive lead in the school building. Another by SCI Engineering, who was hired by the school district, determined the school was safe. After those reports, the Corps came back in October and tested inside the school building. Is that school safe?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Would it be safe enough to send your children there?
Yes.
Yes, I would absolutely send my kids there.
There is contamination on the creek bank. We're not denying that. It is underneath the ground surface. So right now, no one is being exposed. You actually have to come in contact with it to be exposed.
I don't believe that the Army Corps can make that assumption, that this soil is going to remain undisturbed.
When we come back, the other communities living with waste.
East Palestine is only the tip of the iceberg.
And the lawmakers demanding answers.
Our government has a responsibility for the safety and well-being of those students.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.